Okay, so it's 9:07 a.m. I'll do a roll call. Want to just announce your name?
Sure. This is Frank Chan, just got appointed Commissioner for the Tourism District this week as well.
Okay, Schulteis?
Dolick.
Okay, so because our ordinance says that the council approves the commissioner, even though we have on here, we're going to do a vote to approve your commissioner. You're already commissioner, so we do have a quorum physically present, and we have, due to illness, Pam cannot be here except electronically, so we need a motion to vote her in electronically.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Schulteis, aye.
Frank, aye.
Dolick, aye.
Okay, you are now in the meeting, Pam.
Anderson, aye.
Okay. And it's kind of just a formality, a motion to approve Frank Chen as the new board commissioner. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, and because it's just a formality, voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. All right, you're good. And now we need either for this meeting, this is the agenda, either for this meeting as a chairman pro tem or as the permanent chairman until no one's elected, we need a chairman for this meeting. So I don't know if anybody wanted to be appointed as the chairman. Is there any?
I would love to be appointed or
Okay, and
reconsider.
is there, Pam, did you hear that?
No, I didn't, I'm sorry.
Okay, so Commissioner Chen would like to be appointed as we can make a motion to appoint him as the chairman. Is that, is anybody else looking to be chairman, or?
No.
Okay, okay, so then I'll make the motion to appoint Commissioner Chen as chairman,
Second.
and that will be a roll call. Schulteis, aye.
Dolick, aye.
Chan, aye.
Pam?
Anderson, aye. Anderson, aye.
Okay, all right. Chairman, now you get to take over the meeting and introduce the...
Chairman, if you'd ask me, I'll speak next.
Okay.
Thank you. Kind of carrying on through missing attendance. Mark Roscoe,
sorry
Director of
about that.
Public Works, here. If you could just introduce yourself, sir.
Ali Sayed Raza, Ali Raza, Motel 6 Prospect Heights, GM.
Maggie Corzine, GM Holiday Inn Express, Prospect Heights.
And
Deputy Chief Derman, Prospect Heights Police.
So then if I could take the next line, sir. During our last meeting, we talked about different ideas for the capital plan and funding that's available for different improvements in the tourism district. One of the topics we brought up was the discussion of security cameras and different styles and varieties and information about it. I had stated that the best person to talk about that was our deputy chief, who we've asked today to come and talk about cameras, the philosophy on what we do, and if we were going to select some funds to improve the police protection and the ability to see what's going on in the area, that he's our guy. So, Milo, if that's not a good opening for you, I hope it is. Deputy Chief Derman, this is his, he's the expert for this.
Good morning. Thank you all for letting me attend this meeting and present to you on CCTV surveillance. As Mr. Roscoe introduced me, I am Deputy Chief Derman with Prospect Heights Police. On a day-to-day basis, I deal with our current camera provider, resolve any issues or any updates that we might require. I'll take a couple minutes of your time, present to you about CCTV and some of the more popular options that cities, police departments, and businesses are utilizing in today's day and age. CCTV surveillance, that's closed-circuit television. It's a method of transmitting video signal to a specific place. It's simply a camera goes up, records the activity, comes back to a server, and you can monitor that activity via television. That activity can then be reviewed for past dates, past times, and that footage can be obtained. Some of the importance of CCTV. From January 1st to January 1st, 2023 until December 31st, 2023, Prospect Heights responded to 94 calls of theft. Oftentimes, we look to evidence to help us resolve those cases, and a lot of times, the first piece of evidence we go to is there any camera, is there any surveillance footage in the area that could potentially help us identify a vehicle, any persons involved, clothing description, and so forth. It prevents and reduces chances of theft. It's often a deterrent in reducing crime. When the criminal offender, bad guy, sees a camera, oftentimes studies have shown that they will less likely enter that area with the thought of committing a crime. Real-time video surveillance. All of these cameras, they allow for end user to see live what is going on at that location. Useful criminal evidence. A lot of times, crimes are solved looking at surveillance footage and seeing what happened. Like I said, vehicles, offending vehicles, license plates, which could potentially lead us to arresting somebody. We use them to monitor high-risk areas. A lot of our high-risk areas happen to be on the east side of town. We have cameras deployed in a lot of our hot zones, which help us monitor those areas when officers are not available and are not in that area because they're responding to other calls. It reassures the public about community safety. It's a no-brainer here. Everybody wants to see cameras. They know that where there are cameras, that area is being monitored. And like I said, oftentimes the criminal will be less likely, be hesitant to commit a crime in that area. If something illegal happens on the premises or at that particular business, the camera footage is very important because it could potentially capture that event. Our current CCTV infrastructure, the way that it's set up at the police department, we have a viewing area which is often monitored by our desk officers. That viewing area is accessible to all of our police officers as well, and the program that runs all the cameras is accessible to all of our patrol officers and investigators when they are trying to recall that footage and see what happened. We have various locations throughout the town with various angles and views. I will show you in a later slide what some of those views look like. Cameras can be multi-view or they can be single-view cameras. It depends on the location and what is better suited for that location. As I said, they're monitored by the desk officer upon availability and officers for investigative purposes when that information needs to be recalled. Oftentimes, our desk officers, they monitor these cameras. When they see something suspicious, they will notify a patrol officer, let them know, hey, I saw a vehicle in that area, a person that looked to be suspicious in some manner. Can you swing by the area and check it out? That is a very useful tactic that we deploy as well. Our current network and equipment is maintained by a third-party company. We outright own the cameras. However, the maintenance and any issues that arise with the cameras are resolved through a third-party company that maintains our infrastructure. On a day-to-day basis, I monitor the cameras, make sure there are no issues, as well as Mr. Roscoe. We notify our contractor of any issues, and we try to resolve those issues immediately, as the footage is very important. Some camera options. The Prospect Heights Police Department utilizes both of these options. You have your standard CCTV cameras. Some brand names are Samsung, Hanwha. As I said, they can be single view or multi-view lens. Those cameras, they record 24/7. They can be set to motion or they can be set to continuous recording. That footage can then be recalled. depending on how long it's being kept, the retention rate. 7 days, 10 days, 30 days, that is all going to depend on how much motion there is, how much activity there is, and how big the server that data is coming back to. Another type of cameras that we deploy are called LPR cameras, license plate reader cameras. A couple companies are in the market that have introduced these cameras. One of the product leaders is Flock. Flock has introduced a license plate reader camera that captures, simply put, license plates. They have, additionally, that's why I put them under standard CCTV cameras, they have recently introduced a standard surveillance camera that can zoom in and that has really good high definition. But to focus on their license plate reader cameras, these cameras, they simply capture license plates. They are continuously taking pictures of license plates as they pass by the area. And what they're doing is they're performing a security check on that license plate to see if it is entered in the system as stolen, as a wanted person of interest, if it has any connection to a criminal query of any sort. So a police department, such as ourselves, we have a crime that occurred, and we identify an offending vehicle. We identify a license plate. We will take that license plate, we will put it inside of Flock's database, and we will mark it as a vehicle of interest, a wanted vehicle, or even if it's a stolen vehicle. Every time that license plate passes by a Flock camera, the system will alert its users in whatever town that camera it is. Now, if Prospect Heights put that entry into Flock, it will alert Prospect Heights. Same goes for vehicles that are entered as stolen from other towns, and that vehicle passes by one of our 3 Flock cameras in town, a message will automatically go to a cell phone on the patrol level, notify them a stolen vehicle passed this camera, and this is the picture that was taken, this is the license plate. Officers can immediately deploy to that area and investigate further, look for that vehicle. It's real time, and it has proven to be a great tool to law enforcement. Standard CCTV surveillance camera. These are some of the cameras on the east side. The larger image, this is a camera that's on Milwaukee Avenue, close to Rocky Vander's and the Old Denny's. It is situated on the east side of the street by the well house. This is a property maintained by our Public Works, and it looks at Milwaukee Avenue. This is a still shot image from the daytime. As you can tell, it's a very good image. There were some raindrops on the lens, that's why it's a little blurry. And on the right side and below the larger image, you can see some other views of our surveillance cameras throughout the city. Majority of these cameras are multi-lens views. What that means is the camera can be set up to capture a 180 in 3-4 different screens, 3-4 different views. This is a recent camera that we installed, very high quality. This is close to the Milwaukee Plaza. Very good camera during the daytime. It has night vision options, and it produces great image quality. And finally, a license plate reader still shot. This is from Flock. As you can tell, the vehicle is very easily identifiable. The license plate, I blurred it out for security reasons, but the license plate is very identifiable. And if there was, it gives you the date, location. Now, if there was anything associated with the vehicle, it would send that information immediately to our patrol phone, which is monitored by our patrol officers and also our investigators. For the locations that Mr. Roscoe discussed with you, personally, I would venture out and say that Flock cameras, these license plate reader cameras, are a great crime deterrent. We have currently 3 of them positioned on the east side of town. They are positioned in around the Piper Lane area, and Flock, they come out, they do a survey study. The company does a survey study, and they identify what is the best placement and the best location for these cameras. Majority of these cameras are solar powered. A light pole is not necessary. A source of power is not necessary. Flock comes out, they put up a pole. The pole is a little bit larger than what a stop sign pole would look like. and they put a solar panel on top of it, and they put their camera on top of it. Now, Flock, they maintain the camera, they maintain the solar power, and they cover, their warranty covers any damage that is not man-made. So anything weather-related, damage from the sun, damage from the rain, from the elements, they will cover. Vandalism, anything man-made, that's not something they cover. These cameras, they are one-directional, so if they are placed south and northbound, they will capture all vehicles traveling southbound and northbound. They will capture all license plates. Any questions?
My only question is, I know you can't be specific, but cost-wise for setting up some of these options, can you elaborate on that?
Sure. In speaking to the CCTV standard surveillance cameras, the first cost option would be choosing the actual equipment, choosing a camera. That camera has to go at a place where there is actual power. Mr. Roscoe can speak about that. He's worked closely with our contractor in putting up the cameras and maintaining the cameras, but they need actual hardwired power. That is the first. Equipment, Mr. Roscoe can talk about that. He recently purchased the camera that I showed you, which is on the levee. After that, it's the data. The data has to come back somewhere. Now we're talking about size of the server and how much data it can actually take in. That camera has to be live streamed on an actual program. There are licensing fees that are involved. To give you a total cost, it would be hard for me to say, but equipment can cost a couple $1,000s. A single license for a single camera is a couple $100s. The man hours that are involved in putting up the equipment, I'm not too sure what that could cost. Flock, on the other hand, they have a one-time fee. It's a yearly fee of $3,000 per camera, and that gives you access to their system. So the $3,000 plus a setup fee, which is $1,000, installation, equipment, everything is thrown in that package. But it gives you access to their database. It gives us access to their database. Flock is much simpler in there, that there is no licensing fees, there's no reoccurring equipment fees. Now, if new cameras get added to their product line, they will give you that new camera at no cost.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And on the public works side of the cameras, obviously Milo and I work well together on this. The existing system, the cameras that are out there are all hardwired to power, so they're on a utility pole, on a streetlight pole, on a building, working with property owners that have given us the ability to put cameras on there. There's some delays with it because it is wireless technology back to our server, so there's antenna issues. It's kind of old school, it's line of sight. If this antenna can see that antenna, it can get the signal. It's been a great system, I believe, for the years that we've been using it. And my take is, as we advance to the license plate reader and the Flock technology, it makes it a little bit more flexible. There's a lot of places where it'd be great to have a camera where realistically to get power to that point is not feasible for us to get Commonwealth Edison to bring a power line or a pole or run a wire to it. It could be 25 grand to get power to a spot where we could have Flock put in a camera, a mono pole, like you said, a stop sign pole, a little taller, and it's solar, and because of the cellular technology of it, it transmits to their server like a cell phone would, compared to going into our network where it has to be encrypted. You go through a lot of different measures to get into the city system. So on my take on it is the Flock system is evolving to be a great tool for the police department, but as you mentioned, public works, we're keeping an eye on stuff too. We're working directly with our vendors and stuff. An advantage I see also to the Flock side of it is placement. We put them in for some reason after we have a study done and we don't like how it works. They're mobile. It can be moved from one location to another. It's not a fixed asset that we have to do every year. Granted, Flock won't want to see us put, 5 of them in and then take 5 of them out next year. But when we've gone through this finance curve over the last few years of COVID, and Pam was involved in it for the past couple budget meetings where we've been up and down with things, this is something that gives us a little bit more flexibility down the road. If 3 years from now we decide that we don't have the right funding, this is a tangible asset that can be, we can work with our funding on it. I hate to say it a little bit, to remove a few because we can't afford it. Versus once we build out the city system, there's costs and there's server, there's just certain stuff that just we're stuck with. So when we talk about the capital fund and the pool of money that we have available to us to do improvements for the city, I'm going to propose somewhere around $20,000 to $25,000 go towards this year of a camera improvement. The start would be obviously with the deputy chief and the folks from the vendor talking about locations and picking what's feasible. Is that, we haven't had this detailed conversation about locations, but is that?
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And I just want to reiterate the point of movement, right? These cameras, they don't require antennas. Everything is contained in a very small box. If you would like to go and look at some of those cameras after your meeting, I will tell you where the Flock cameras are. Very small, very mobile. There's no hard lines. There's no electricity that runs to them. That aspect is made very simple. But yes, to your point, you're right. We would first get with Flock. We would get with their engineers. They would do a survey study, and they would tell us exactly. We recommend a camera right here to capture the best view. Flock also creates these LPR cameras that are now able to be zoomed out to use as surveillance cameras. That's another thing that we could explore as well. Along Milwaukee Avenue, we don't have any license plate reading cameras. Wheeling does further down in their town, but we don't have anything along on our side of Milwaukee Avenue. And as you know, Milwaukee Avenue is often it's a very busy street, a fast street, and a lot of times when crimes do occur, Milwaukee Avenue is the main route of escape.
So that's kind of the big picture on the camera ideas that we have in the city and what will help not just our residents, but our tourists. Folks that are coming in, we've had a rash of there's been catalytic converter thefts. There's been other issues that, luckily for me in Public Works, I don't get into. I deal with the nuts and bolts, and Milo and his folks handle all the people and the issues. But it's definitely an improvement we could do in this district to help all of us a little peace of mind of what's going on and who's there. And as he stated, with the ability to get an alert that offending vehicle is in town. It's near one of your facilities or your parking lots or on the road, gives everybody an alert to it. I hate to use the phrase big brother, but in this case, it's, I believe, what we want. We want everyone, your resident, your tourists or your guests that come in, and the residents that live here full time to have that peace of mind. So I'm in that camp.
Yeah.
So I think that's, any other questions, Frank?
I think overall, I love when you describe about the Flock camera system as well, and it's more convenient in terms of technology, more flexible in terms of location as well. Cost-wise, I think in terms of installation, there's some of the associated costs with it in terms of working with the owner, setting up the physical location for it, and also including electricity, all that. Flock seems to do a much favorable system to be using, and also for thinking about something down the road as well, the technology upgrade that they insure, and also the warranty that comes with it. I think overall, I'm in favor of the Flock system too. Any questions?
Do you have any questions from you? Other than that, we appreciate you coming in today and talking about it.
Thank you for giving me a chance to discuss this.
And then as we move forward with this year's budget and all of our other stuff, we'll
Absolutely.
We'll come back on it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks. Yeah, I'll just add that I'm very much on board with that as well, especially the law cameras. And not only criminal activity, but on Milwaukee Avenue, we've had numerous accidents. There was a helicopter that crashed there. We had a terrible
Yes.
crash into the levee wall.
You'll have a
There's a lot
nice
going
day.
on there.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. That can help in investigations, but primarily for criminal activity, that would be a huge help, especially the flock cameras. And overall cost, as you said, for ComEd to add a power source,
You can spin it around. Yeah, that has been our, in the past few installations we've had, getting power to where we want a camera has been a challenge at some locations. There's, one of the flock cameras right now is on Piper Lane, near Public Works, and we're on a light pole. And it just happened to be where we had a camera, and that was one of those installations, so it has 110 volt constant power to it. But as they've improved their product, now getting to the solar where it runs, it's got a strong enough battery, and even you can have, rainy and cloudy and snowy days, it'll keep going for an extended period. Their technology's improved so much that it's not worth the time to figure out the power. So it's been a nice thing. I don't use the access to those, but as Public Works, we have the view that Bealoid showed. We do that from our office, so if there's adjustments or changes or cleaning of the lenses, we have access to that, so.
I have a question.
yes,
Is 25,000 enough?
My original number was 40,000, but I kind of, Pam, I kind of felt that it was best to step into this, like a half step, and then see how it works and how the commission, the Tourism Commission approves of it. I just felt that, a long-term goal of, 40,000 a year towards cameras, would be a big bite to start off with.
Yeah.
I would love to do it. I'd love for approval on that, but I just felt that as we start talking about this as the tourism district, I didn't want to jump both feet in right away. But we could.
Right. Was that, how many cameras would that maybe get us for that amount of money?
He had stated they're around 3,000 a year to maintain. So if we did, 5 or 6 cameras, we'd be in that 15,000, 20,000.
and an additional 1,000 setup.
Just
to,
the initial, yes, sir.
yeah, the
The
initial.
initial,
But that's just a one-time fee, right?
That's just a one-time fee, correct.
correct.
Yeah.
But
Well,
Pam,
and then maintenance if something goes wrong, right? With
Correct.
camera.
but we, as we all try to budget and stuff, that reoccurring yearly bill of about $3,000 a location is something we need to be cognizant of. We all pay, bills at home, and we know that they're coming in, and, so as 40 was my original number, I felt that it was too big of an ask, to get started with this. I'd love to do it, I'm a pretty open guy on it, so that's why I'm a little lower than that this year, Pam.
Yeah, I'm completely on board with it. I think it's something that they need in the area.
And in our capital plan, we'll also have the other topics we spoke of, the street lighting program, the city monument signs, banners, so we can't spend everything right off the bat. We need to kind of ramp up where we start off on this, we get some of our other projects done, and then we see where we're sitting with finances moving forward. Unfortunately, crime and some of these aspects aren't going away anytime soon, but if we can start chipping away at it, that's why I truly believe this is a great idea. Yes, it's back to.
Great. So it seems like everybody's in favor of this project, and then we have Do we need to do a further discussion on the budget assigned to this, 25 or 40? Is there something that we need to decide as of right now?
I believe we could.
We could, so that's, we could make a motion to,
Yeah.
but I,
Or if you'd like, we can,
the two finance people are not here today. so I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, perhaps.
We maybe give them direction to, that this is something we want to pursue, or to give you direction, or is it?
how about the direction of it becomes an approval agenda item at our next meeting?
Sounds good.
That gets us lined up right for the budget and everything else like that, and as long as we have the current consensus that it's not a heck no, it's more on the yes, let's put it on the next agenda, so we get the finance approval, and we're all on the right steps.
Sounds good.
Another, little bit of time isn't gonna change it.
We want to make a motion.
Okay, I'll make the motion. I make a motion to address the security camera options to be voted on in the next district meeting.
Second.
I second.
Okay, roll call. Schulteis, aye.
Dolek, aye.
Chen, aye.
Anderson, aye.
Okay. Thank you.
Moving on to the approval of meeting minutes. We have the last meeting's minutes here. Are we missing anything that still needs to be discussed that linger over to this meeting? We did go over camera system, and there's a couple other capital projects that we talked about last time too. Right? Is there anything that you guys have updates on?
I will hit that when we talk about our beautification a little farther down the agenda.
Of course.
So we need a motion to approve.
Okay, motion to approve meeting minutes from the December 1st meeting and the special meeting of February 22nd.
Okay, so with this motion, I'll move, second.
Second.
Chen?
Okay, roll call.
Chen, aye.
Schulteis, aye.
Dolek, aye.
Anderson, aye.
Awesome. Moving on. New business. Quarterly grant disbursement. I believe our hotel, Hilton Northbrook, already submitted to Sharon. There's one thought here as well. Since now we're getting a little bit more participation from some of the hotels in the area, is there additional attempt to get most listed hotels involved in our regular meetings?
There always is.
Okay. It's just more
And
magnet.
I've actually made a phone call to.
Awesome.
Mr.
Awesome. That's
Charlie
great.
Nelson.
I think once we have more people, more hotels and properties involved, then we can get better understanding from their perspectives as well. I know I definitely learned a lot from all the other property managements.
So we need to vote, so this vote will be grant money based on paperwork submitted, so I don't know if anybody else has submitted paperwork.
I am.
Okay. And you have till April 30th to submit the paperwork. That's what Sherry told me.
Awesome.
So, do you want a motion?
Yes, I motion to approve the disbursement for quarterly grant. Chen,
Okay. A second?
Second.
Okay, roll call. And then these grants would be approved based, again, contingent upon paperwork received in a timely manner by the finance department. So, Schulteis, aye.
Chen, aye.
Dolek, aye.
Anderson, aye.
Okay.
All right, moving along, beautification updates.
Sure. It's funny because every spring we talk about the beautification plan, and we're 2 months ahead of the city budget actually getting approved. So we're forecasting what's going to be in that budget and where we're approving things from. The advantage of that is we've been doing this for years and we kind of have a plan. We know what it is, so it's easier to forecast where we're at. We went through a few down years of the COVID and of those financial burdens, and we cut out a lot of things that we were doing in the last season and now this season, we're back ramping up to where we want to be.
Yeah.
And doing nice things again to improve it. Based on what we see in the current forecast for revenue, I wish finance was here, because I'm the nuts and bolts guy, I'm not the numbers guy, but that the revenue for the area is increasing and our beautification budget's gonna go up again a little bit. So that helps us out. We're currently forecasting around $70,000 in beautification expenses for the tourism district for this year, fiscal year. That includes summer plantings. We did, I think, 3 years in a row where we didn't do any summer flowers and plantings. So that ends up being about $27,000 a year into that big number. It makes a heck of a difference. It really helps things. So that's again this year, tree trimming, turf grass maintenance, we do mulch. We don't have forecasted for fall planting again this year. We've done that in the past with the cabbages and the different, with Commissioner Allgauer, we didn't know if we were getting our bang for the buck out of it. It's about $17,000 to $19,000 for that fall planting that gives us 5 or 6 weeks of something that looks good. It was a big hit for a small period of time. So the last few years, we've kind of felt comfortable with the summer plantings, just letting them go a little longer. So that's my projection for this year again. Mowing and maintenance, we do the irrigation system. In our last meeting, we talked about banners. We have it forecasted into this year for new banners for the reds and the greens that are deteriorating. And then we obviously pay monthly fees for water and power for both ends of the district for the systems that we have in place. So about $70,000. I think our current our city budget puts us at about a $90,000 revenue expected. So we're coming in with our beautification plan under that budget. And then the capital projects we've been talking about are coming out of the existing fund balance that's there. So we're not dipping into this. So I wish they were here, but the numbers end of it, it's good.
Yeah.
We're planning on spending less than what we could, and it gives us a little bit of room for adjustments as the year comes along. That's kind of the big picture of it. And then when we get to the old business, we'll talk about the last couple of capital things we talked about. But for beautification wise, we're right on board, and we're going to do a little bit more cleanup work this year than has been done in the past. So I had a walkthrough yesterday with our current contractor, Landscape Concepts. Walked the tourism area, talked about things that I felt that they could have done a better job in the last year. So I'd like to do that at the start of the year, and then we'll have a June or July meeting to walk through and see what they're doing. So just to make sure that their management is communicating well with the crews that are actually doing the work. And then I see it every day. So nothing irritates me more than something I know we're paying to do and it's not getting done. Especially when it's, should be.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the plan for the beautification for this year. You have any questions about how we're doing?
Have you guys seen the banner selections that we
No.
decided? Do you have any pictures that we can show?
The current banners,
No, actually the new ones.
the new ones are replacing the current ones that we have.
Basically.
Right, I can pull a picture out, but it's the Prospect Heights,
Yeah.
walking for the green and the blue. For years, that's all we had up there. And they've been getting beat up over the years. During the summer months, this is going back about 7 years, the only thing we ever changed out was we took the green banners down and left the blue, and then added the Statue of Liberty banners, the patriotic banners for the Midsummer, Memorial Day, 4th of July. So the blue ones have been up the majority of the time. In the last few years, we've ventured into the winter banners, which are up now. The blue pine tree ones. We chose the blue because if we went with green, they'd be more of just for the holiday season, where the the blue trees kind of get you, you're still in the winter aspect of it. We have typically the first or second week of March, we change to the spring banners, which are the bubbles, the white ones with the vinyl. So that's kind of the next change.
Yeah.
From the bubbles, we go to the blue city banners with the patriotic. And then after 4th of July, we leave the blue and we go to the blue and green until we get into the next winter season. So we have these constant changes. There was talk about doing a fall banner. We just haven't, part of it too is we're changing banners at least 4 times a year. It's a lot of labor.
Yeah.
But we see the impact. Everyone likes to see the change. The impact of it for the labor part is pretty high at times. Many of them are accessible from our aerial lift truck parked on the side of the road. But the ones down the middle, and a lot of them, we have to actually bring a crew of guys out. We have to close off the lane of traffic with an arrow board, 30 cones, and a few guys to move traffic so we can put a truck in the middle and go up to the top and have a guy basically in peril as he's doing it. It's what we do.
Yeah.
But it takes a little bit more coordination. And we like to do all the banners in the same day or day and a half. We don't want to do half of them and then half of them. It's just kind of,
Yeah.
it's half, you know. So that's kind of the changeover of the banners. It's not a 10-minute thing. It's quite a process at times. So, but that's the nuts and bolts. That's what we're good at. So.
But we need a new banner because those ones are getting pretty old, right? With that in between the patriotic and winter, right?
Yes, the tradition of the blue city logo banners are failing. They're ripping. We've had them repaired. We had a great seamstress next door here who's repaired many of them. But at some point, it's not just the stitching; it's the whole material that's just faded away. So.
Yeah, it's time.
Yep.
It's time.
So that is on the plan for this year, to get those new replacements. So, we'll be popping. It's honestly, but we really enjoy that area of town looking well, and the fact that we can have the funding to do things here that we would love to do on this side of town, but there's a different funding source. So, we're on track. And as you guys see things, if there's a concern or a question, please feel free to just give me a call or an email. Hey, what about this? And I'll make sure we're all on the same page. So.
Awesome.
Do you have samples again we can look at?
We were planning on buying a different design this year. It's the existing, replacing what we currently have.
Just replacement, okay.
Yes.
But not, because we're not gonna do fall, is that correct on the other side?
I wasn't planning on fall banners at this time. I thought we could go right from our current plan is we go from the memorial to patriotic banners, and then we go into the blues and greens for a couple months before we go to the winter.
Okay.
So we can talk more about that.
I'm with you on fall thing because it's such a short period of time, and then including the installation.
Right, and we try to get the winter banners up the week before Thanksgiving, because technically, as we work it, is the day after Thanksgiving, Black Friday is the start of the Christmas season, the holiday season. I can't say Christmas, the holiday season. So mid-November, if we had fall banners up, we'd be changing them out anyways.
Yeah.
So we get into that feeling. We try for another thing on beautification. We did lighting this year. If I can get back in this real quick. Past years, we had a different company do our holiday tree lighting down the center and the embankments. Last year, the bid came in extremely high. We were in the $21,000 range to do seasonal tree lighting with the clear lights. We asked out for a couple of different quotes. We found a vendor who did it for under $6,000, and we just did the center lane, and we did the wrapping technique, loops around the tree versus the individual branches. It was still eye-popping. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, look at those little branches. It was nice. And for the difference of the money, We were happy with the product, we were happy with the vendor and everything that went with it. So this next year, we're on the same plan as that. And that also is in place and lit up by that Black Friday event to start with the holiday season. So even if there's no snow on the ground, it's the start of the holiday season. So that's kind of our benchmark. That's the same day that we do our city holiday tree lighting event at the Morava Center here, that Friday or the Saturday right after Thanksgiving. So, sorry. Sorry about that. That concludes my, sorry.
That's it for the beautification updates. Building and development side?
Director Peterson isn't here, I don't know if he had anything.
He didn't give me anything, but I know that he's been working with the property owners and some new interest for development along the Milwaukee Avenue corridor there, between the property that's near Motel 6 and Fry the Coop there. There's been some interest. There's been some interest in the vacant Denny's property. And then I believe he's still working with the owners where the Dunkin' Donuts and Jimmy John's is. Dunkin' Donuts is still, I believe, closed, and there's still some interest in trying to do things there. So I can't speak to Dan's exact point, but from what we've talked about, just as an overview, I know that he's had a lot of things brewing trying to improve our business aspect along there.
And Officer Garland's not here.
She did not have a report.
Okay, awesome. Sometimes it could be good. Awesome. Moving along to old business, reviewing timing requirements, like Karen mentioned earlier as well, you have until April
30th.
April.
Yes, when I spoke to the
Yeah, of course.
finance director, she said, just to make sure everybody knows, April 30th, and what the grant you're applying for 20, for this year, and not for any previous years, or, so that's why it's important to get everything before the start of the next fiscal year.
And we do it in a quarterly, well, our hotel basically doing is every time before the quarterly meeting, we will submit everything beforehand. So if in case there's any issues, concerns, we can address at the meeting too. And final beautification project recommendations.
If I can speak to that?
Of course.
I probably should have asked Karen to add /capital onto that line item, but it is beautification. It is the capital program that we talked about last meeting. Our forecast going into this next budget cycle, what's going to be presented to the city council in the next few meetings, talk about our capital expenses for beautification in the tourism district outside of our every month, our typical what we do stuff. One of the conversations we had was the Apple Winkleman street lighting project, adding lighting to that section of the roadway. We've talked about it for 7 years. When we did the rebuilding project in 2018 or 19, it came up and it was knocked off the list because it was just timing and funding just wasn't there to do it at that point. The forecast is going to be for this next fiscal year of 24-25 to do take a preliminary design that we did back in 2018, revamp it, and we're going to spend about $10,000 in engineering and design to put that street lighting project together and make sure that all the lighting characteristics and everything matches. And then the forecast will be for the next fiscal year around $185,000 to be spent to do that. There's the engineering part of it will get lined up for permits and ComEd and what needs to be, all the aspects we don't control. So it takes a little bit of time to put all that together. So that's that step. We had talked about our city monument entry signs in our tourism district, one up near the Ramada Hotel and one near Prizer Animal on Milwaukee Avenue as the two north and south entry points to our tourism district in the city. That project we're going to progress with trying to get it done in this next fiscal year of 24-25. We're projecting around $20,000 or $25,000. Even though it's just a sign, there has to be a design and engineering to it because we're going on state right of way. So when you get state permits, The signs need to be built to the state recommendations, which we have all there, so we know what needs to be done. But again, with another agency, to get approval to put it on the state right away, it's gonna take a little bit of time to go through there.
Was that per sign?
Total,
Total? Okay.
25, yes.
$25,000.
That's the plan for both.
For total, okay.
So, I feel that's realistic and obtainable for us to get done this next budget year. So May 1 to April of next year. Even though there's permitting involved, it's 2 signs. It seems there's no reason we shouldn't be able to get that to pass. Actually, I'm sorry, 30,000. I had 25, but 25 was the year. 24 to 25 for 30,000 total.
Okay.
That's the number that's on there. That's including the engineering. And then the projection of $25,000 for the camera upgrades.
Of course.
So those were the main takeaway aspects from our last meeting and the update. We had other things we talked about, which was a traffic signal installation or improvements to the IDOT bridge overpassing Milwaukee Avenue, but they're not in the budget because they're not projects to say yet. They're not. We can't grasp what it would take to do that yet. We have some ideas. The bridge update could be $500,000. Traffic signal improvements, we know an intersection is usually $350,000 or more, plus yearly fees on that. So I'm not projecting those at this time. We'll have plenty of time to talk about those because they're more of a long-term project than these things that we can actually get a bite at the apple and do something.
Of course.
That's all I had on the updates. If there's any questions on that or anything? Yeah.
Any questions? We talked about it.
Okay.
No questions from me? Pam, any questions you have?
Any questions from you, Pam?
No, not right now. Sorry, I was on mute. No, not right now. Thank you.
On the side, I actually have one question along the Displaying River. And I know back in the day, a long time ago, there were stairs and there was more set up on the riverside walk. I just want to understand, I'm not from the local area previously, so I want to understand the history of that side and what territory does it belong to the state or does it belong to the city?
Are you referring to right behind your hotel?
Correct.
Down on the embankment there?
Yes.
So, I'm not sure. The first step is to look at a plot of survey and see where you guys actually, where your property boundaries end. History-wise, I remember as a kid, I've been in the area my whole life, there was more activity down the riverbank. I've heard that back in the 60s, there was gondola boats that used to go to and from the hotel. So it was a lot more of an attention area for the hotel back then, and then it changed.
I see.
So the river is controlled by the Army Corps of Engineers and the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District. They kind of oversee things going on in the floodway. It's a storm channel for the whole suburban area. The city has no responsibility or maintenance, anything back in there. But once your property line ends, it turns into the Cook County Forest Preserve District. So on that side, and then of course on the Milwaukee Avenue side, there's a point to where LA Department of Transportation has it. So if you guys were going to look at a future proposal of any changes along there, there's a few governmental agencies you have to consult with.
That includes the Cook County Forest Preserve and
The forest preserve, would, depending on where your property line is, that's going to be the first step, is to see where you extend to. Many areas have property that extend into the middle of the creek or the river, and erosion has taken away some of the earth over time. Other times you may be at a spot where you've been deposited, where back in the day that was the line, but now you have 30 more feet. So, I'm sorry about that. So, but yeah, there's a lot of history.
yeah, that's
Back along in that lower area there. I think it just, at some point was just omitted for
Yeah.
clarity, that just we're not gonna do anything with that anymore from the hotel side of it.
Yeah.
And move more towards internal things versus external activities.
I think so too. The plague is still there. You know, with the we have new ownership coming in,
Mhm.
which they're looking for, not looking for, but they're looking forward to some capital expenditures around the hotel. Obviously, the hotel needs a little bit of work on the side, but along with, you know, kind of tourist district conversation, anything that makes the district more attractive. I think it's on the horizon for the hotel, and I think, you know, anything related or close to the hotel is something that on my mind, that really trying to build a good ecosystem, really good attractions for the whole area. That's something that comes with a lot of history, with a lot of legacy. It was a little bit of a, you know.
I could just give you a suggestion, if you haven't been to the River Trails Nature Center,
Mhm.
which is just south of the hotel,
Yes.
about a half mile. It's a public Cook County Forest Preserve Nature Center, but they have a couple hundred feet of shoreline on the river, and they have a retaining wall, and they've done a nice space for people to congregate and enjoy the river from there. It's something that may end up an idea for you for your hotel property along the river. There are, I can't direct you specifically, but the MWRD may have different grants available or different ideas of getting funding to help improve the shoreline that not only benefits you as a commercial property, but benefits the functionality of the river. So shoreline or retaining walls or gabion baskets with rock. There may be something, probably go towards a civil engineer that would kind of direct you on those ideas, but.
That's a good suggestion. Do you have, so it's probably on the sideline, maybe could you forward some of these contact information for me so I can reach out to them?
Sure, I could have our city engineer reach out to you just with the big picture of it.
Of course.
He might not be able to give you a specific engineer to talk to, because you can't suggest people to spend money on,
Yeah,
but he's a wealth of knowledge on that type of aspect.
definitely.
And we've seen improvements there. We've seen it with the River Trails Park District on the corner of Euclid and Wolf. About 7 years ago, they redid part of the McDonald Creek along there to improve it for watershed and maintenance-wise. It was hard to get to, and now they have a nice designated area. So there's a couple of things right in our area that would kind of give you that little idea, put some different pictures in your head of what's happening right in our normal area here.
Of
So
course. And just upon initial kind of a tour or like inspection around the area, there are some retaining walls from the first pound that we have along the river.
Mhm.
And then the second, do you have any idea who did that?
no.
Was it
The ones that are closer to the bridge
Mhm.
may have been incorporated with an IDOT program when the bridge was built,
Okay,
because they're the metal seawalls that are pounded in,
I see.
and there's a certain length of them that are right near the bridge. The rest come into your property and help retain your pond, so I can't give any history on that,
Okay.
but,
Just a thought,
Yeah.
somewhere down the horizon, I think it's a good benefit for the whole community and also along the ecosystem and in the area.
and as my thought, I mean, improvements along the river there would definitely benefit your property.
Oh, of course.
I'm an avid kayaker, so I travel past your hotel 10 or 12 times every summer, going downstream in a kayak, and I, you know,
Oh
just.
my God.
Yeah.
I love that.
But moving meeting now, we don't have to get into my activities.
Of course. That's just a little bit of comments and some questions that I have.
Yeah.
Moving along, we're wrapped up with final beautification project recommendations. Any public comments? Awesome. And we're moving to adjournment. Next meeting scheduled for Friday, June 7th. We're still looking for active participation as well.
Yeah, and Mr. Chairman, this is my last meeting, so we'll have, hopefully, if you want to reach out to the mayor or the city administrator,
Will do.
we're looking for new commissioners, and we have one commissioner that's not been showing up, so maybe ask about that too.
Sounds good.
Adjourn?
Adjourn.
Moving to adjourn?
Patrick, we're all done.
Wait a minute, we have to move to adjourn. adjourn?
Oh, sorry.
I move, okay, I
Motion
move,
to adjourn?
okay.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.